In this DIY video, we're going to be installing these beautiful made-to-measure mirrors. Now, by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly how to fit mirrors just like this. It's a one-person job, and I've got you covered. I've put all the links to the materials, the mirrors, and the tools in the description, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's get started. We're going to be putting these mirrors dead in the center of that wall there. These are the tracks we're going to use to fit the mirrors onto the wall with. This is the smaller profile track. This is the one that the glass will actually sit in. And this one over here is the larger track. So it's got a larger groove on the top, and you'll slide the mirror up into that, put the bottom of the mirror into the smaller track, and then it will drop down and still have enough of a lip to hold the mirror on the wall. Now, there are two ways of fitting these onto the wall. You can use the tracks like this, or you can use adhesive. In this process, we're going to be using tracks because the customers ask for this just in case they ever want to take the mirrors off for a change of use of the room. Before we start installing these tracks and getting the mirrors fitted, make sure you hit that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner of this video. Make sure notifications are on as well, because when I do another free handy DIY video, you'll be notified and you won't miss out any of the content that I guarantee will be able to help you in the future. Let's get started fitting the mirrors. Now we've got to determine the center of our room. And to do that, we need to know the full width of the room. So all we're going to do is measure this along here with our Stanley millimeter tape. All the links to the tools in this video are in the description as well, by the way. Tapes and things like that, tapes, pencils, all the bits and bobs, drill bits. So we've got a 6.7 meter room. So if my calculations are correct, that'll be 3,350 is the center. So we'll run our tape along here, and we'll find 3,350, and we'll hold it there. Now what we know is that our mirrors are going here, so we're not too fussed about putting small marks on the wall. I don't want to mark the skirting because that would mean I've got to rub it off. So we'll find 3,350 with our spirit level, and all we'll do is just hold the spirit level about like that, and we'll just put a small mark there. And that's our reference for the rest of this project, so we've got a center point in the room. Now what we want to do is determine whereabouts our tracks are going to go and the starting height of the first track. So we need to know exactly how tall these mirrors are, and they are 183 centimeters. So if we head over to the wall, all we have to do really, find our center line again, because we'll work around that point for now, and we'll put our tape up at about 183. So you want to kind of position it in the middle of that soundbar we've got up there and the skirting board. So that's about there. We know our top track is going to sit here, put a small pencil mark there, and then we can work our way down from there, just like this. We'll hold our tape on that point there and just run it down. So we've got 183, and just put a little finger mark on the wall there. And now you can mark the bottom of your first track. Small pencil marks always, because if you make any mistakes, you can just rub it out or get a little wipe and just remove it from the paintwork, and then you're not having to paint anything. So always do tiny little pencil marks that you can just remember where they are. Now we've determined the center of our room and the height we're going to be fitting the mirrors. Let's get the bottom track fitted. That's the most important one. We need the bottom track fitted first, because then we can do all our measuring off that one, as you have to get the top track perfect. Because it's got these grooves, and the mirror will be sliding up into this first. I think you can see that on the video there. It'll be sliding up into there and then dropping down into the bottom track. And if this height isn't perfect on the top, the mirror will fall out. So it's imperative to get that right. Now what we got to do is find the center of this, where this track's going. So I believe these are 3,360 from memory. So we'll get that up there, measure out. Yeah, 3,660, sorry. So 3,660, my maths isn't that good. 3,660 divided by 2, we're at 1,830. So all we got to do to find our end point is go off our center line. Now, I'm using a laser level. You can do all these measurements and sort of levels with a big spirit level, but I love a laser level. There'll be links in the description to which ones we use. This is a bit of an expensive one, but we do use cheaper ones like the DeWalt battery powered ones, and they're very good for DIY, and it's worth getting. It's a good investment because you can use it for everything around the house. So what we're going to do is put our vertical line on the center line there, and I've chopped this laser up with a couple of bits here. You can use a bit of wood or something. To the bottom point, that's where our bottom track's going to sit. So we know now that's where it's going from now on, and we can measure off that. So what was our measurement? 1830, wasn't it? So we'll go, we'll put our tape on that line there, and we'll measure on the wall 1830. So again, I'll finger mark it, and we'll do our 1830 over here. And that's where we'll be starting the track. There's two ways you can fit these tracks to the wall. Every way is going to mean drilling through, so we just have to put a pilot hole through the aluminium track. Really easy because that alley, it just goes through straight away. So you need some good HSS bits. We're either going to use witches' hats, which are these things here, with screws to fix it. If you're going into plasterboard and you can't find your studs, you can use these. These are great fixings, and they're plenty strong enough because you'll put plenty of holes in and it'll work. Or you can find your stud and you can just go in with some small wood screws like that. And you might have to countersink them a little bit, but I'll show you how we do all that in a minute. Now, just to double check you've got the center of the room with your bottom track, always measure from the end point into the start point of the track. So here we've got 155, and then just go where you've marked the other side and measure that and make sure it matches that number. And that's at 155. It's always like measure twice, cut once. It always makes sense to double check. So if you install all this and it's off center, it's annoying. So just double check your measurements and you'll be sweet. Now, if you're going into your timber joists, you always want to just test you found the joist. You know, you can do your tapping thing or you can get the joist finder, but it's always important to make sure you've got the joist. And my way of doing that is to get a tiny little drill bit in there, mark where you think your joist is. You know your mirrors are going to start here, so we've got a bit to play with here, and use a tiny hole so you could drill through into it. And if you haven't found the joist, a little bit of filler and a bit of paint, and you're away. Instead of putting a big screw in and blowing out the plaster, I always find that's the best way to do it. So over here, this is where I think the joist is. I mean, I built this room, so it should be there. But I always like to check. You just put a little hole in. See, look at that. You go through, and it'll hit timber, and you know you've found your joist. It's as simple as that, really. It'll pull out a bit of wood, and you know you're in there. But it'll be soft through the plaster, and you'll hit the timber stud, and that's where you know where to start drilling. Now here's how we'll work out where to put our marks to drill on the metal track from our timber joist. So we'll line up our metal track with this datum point here, which is our reference point where we're going to start, and our joist is here. So I'll just do that measurement to there where I found the joist, and I'll mark it onto the metal track there. From there I can just do every 400 because I know that's where all the joists are, and that'll be plenty of fixings to hold the weight of the mirrors. So as you can see, I've put our first mark there, and I'll just go down and do pencil marks every 400, 4, 8, 12, and so on. And what we'll be doing is drilling our holes through here for our screws, and that will enable them to fit perfectly in the line, and they'll be on the same center line. Now I like to use these Makita HSS bits. As I said before, all this stuff is in the description to the Amazon shop that we've got. And they're the best way. If you're using 4mm screws, use a 4mm bit, and all you got to do is just put a nice little hole like that. Like you see, it goes through like butter. Now I also like to just finish it off with a little countersink, and it enables the screw just to sit a little bit deeper in the track and just gives a little bit more tolerance between that and the mirror. Now, as you can see here with the countersink, it allows the screw just to slot in a little bit better. 4mm hole, perfect for a 4mm screw. And as you can see there, you've just got a bit more clearance now with the screw being flush. So the mirror will slot in and it will have a little bit of play. So that's that. I've just run these through every 400 all the way along the track, and now we're done and we're ready just to fit that up along our laser line. Now this can all be done by yourself. You're just going to lift one end of the track up, get it to your reference point, and then just put your laser or your level where you've marked it onto the top of the track there. So it's going to be the same the whole way down. Whatever datum you choose there, you've got to keep that line the same way. So we're just going to hold this up a bit and get it in line there. Because I'm doing it by myself, I haven't got someone at the other end to hold it up. But that's how you do it. So just get your line where you're going to screw, and then when you lift it up, it will actually drop this left-hand side down a bit. So you pop that on. There we've got our nice fix in there. And then we'll just go down the track as we go. We'll try to keep out the way of the laser, so we can just lift it up like that. And just match what the laser's doing on every point. And then you know it's absolutely bang on, perfectly level. And it will make your life a lot easier when you're doing the top track if this is absolutely spot on. Onto the top track. This is the easiest way to work this out, and it's absolutely imperative you get this right, otherwise you'll fix it all and you'll put your mirrors in and they won't fit in or they'll drop out, and it's really frustrating. It's a learning process, but if you take your time, you get it right. So again, measure twice, cut once. All we need to really figure out to make this simple is exactly what the height of our mirror is from the inside of the track, you know, at the bottom of the track where the mirror is going to sit. So we want to measure our mirror exact, which is 183. So it's bang on 183 millimeters. So we need to measure from the bottom of this track exactly 183 mil. So I'll put our tape in there. Make sure it's in the bottom of the track, which it is. And we're going to come up here and measure 183 millimeters. Right there. Now this is the bit that needs attention. So this track, as you can see here, has an internal lip of around about, it's very hard to do with tape, so you start on 10 mil. So I'd say that's probably around 14 mil of a lip. So we've got 14 mil to play with there. And this track on the bottom here has an internal measurement. Again, we'll do the similar thing with the tape. It's probably about 5 or 6 mil. So we know we've got to be able to lift the mirrors a minimum of 6 mil to actually get them in the track. And that's it really. It's just a number like that. It's a minimum of 6 mil. So I'll go 8 mil to allow for any discrepancies as you're fixing it. It's always going to come up a little bit. But we got 14, so you could even go as far as 10, and you're still going to have 4 mil coming down on that top hook track to hold the mirrors in. So if you're using a laser, you can probably go with about 8 because it'll be pretty bang on. But if you're using a level, it might be worth going with 10 so you can allow for your discrepancies going up and down. So what we'll do now is we'll measure where that mirror was. And now we need to know, we know that this track needs to just go up 8 mil. So we can fit a point here. So we'll start on there and we'll measure up 8 mil from that. So 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll put it about there. And that's where we'll fit our top track. And what we'll do now is just set the laser to that height. Now when it comes to setting your level or the laser on the top, now we've determined whereabouts our mirror is going to sit. When it's on the bottom track, we're going to come up 6 mil. So we've put that mark where this one needs to be, as I just showed you. But it's easier to put your mark on the bottom because it's high up. We're going to be holding that above our head. So if the laser's on the top of it here, you know, up here on the top, it's going to be quite hard to see. So it's better to measure from where you've put that top line or where this track is and actually measure your position of the track. So right here we've got the depth of 30 mil. So you can come down 30 mil from your top mark and just run your laser level along there. Right, if you're using a laser level, it's not going to stick on a wall, but you have got angle beads in your reveals for your doors and windows. So you can stick it on there just like that, and then it will cast the line at perfect height. So always remember that you've got those steel angle beads around your doors and windows, and that makes it very easy to put your laser at the height required. You can run that all the way down the wall. So now we're going to get started fixing those top tracks. Now just one handy tip, if you're setting your laser level on the window reveal like that, it's always important to come back every sort of minute or two just to make sure when you're fixing that the laser level hasn't creeped down the wall. The magnets aren't that strong on them and they can slowly slide down, which is a bit annoying, and it'll be way out by the time you get to the other end. So occasionally just pop back, check your datum and make sure that the laser hasn't moved. I've cast the laser level at the start of the track on the bottom, and I'm going to mark exactly where the top track's going to start. You can do this with a level or a laser, it's the same, but there's no point doing a center point because we know exactly where that's starting now. And the great thing about this is we can use all the same fixing points as we measured on that track on the bottom one. So I'll just replicate the fixing points and then go 400, drill them all as we did before, and then get this fixed up. Alright, now we've got those all drilled out. We can pop that down there, come over here, get the laser back on, and we'll offer that up. That's on the perfect line there, exactly where we want it. And now you can see how much easier it is with the laser being below it to follow that line. So we can just sit the track above the laser there and we can run that the whole way down and fix it. And it's much easier than it being on top of it like that, which would be very easy to sort of determine where you're going to be putting your laser. So I like doing it this way. As I said earlier, it's just a handier way of doing it. We can fix that all in now, and then we're away to slot the mirrors in. Now, if you're fitting the top one by yourself and you don't have an extra pair of hands, here's a handy way to be able to do that. Now, what we want to do is start on your left side of the track, where you're going to be fixing then your line, and measure to the most center part of the track screw, which is going to be this one for me at 1645, that hole there. So with that, I'm going to measure 1645 from the start. 1645. It's all over here. And what we'll be doing is putting a line just up there in a dead straight line down, so we can see exactly where that hole is. And then what I'll do is I will offer that up. And now, because I'm by myself, I can't see where that's starting, but I can see that straight pencil line I put there. And what I can do is hold that level like this, put a screw in my hand, and just fix that one, and then we'll go to each end and level the ends and work our way back down on the line. And that's the easiest way to fit the top track by itself. That's the top track up. So we've got these lovely countersunk screws in. Look, they're really flush. It's important not to countersink them too much, otherwise you're not getting enough fixing on the metal, but look how flush that is. Really, really nice finish there. And the glass is now just going to slide in, hopefully, and just clip down in the bottom if we've done it all right. So what you're going to do, offer it up. Don't be too fussed about the location of it just yet, because you can slide them along the tracks. You're just going to lift it up in the top track. It's very fiddly without your fingers there to get that right. As your fingers are behind, it's very tight. But look at that. Now we can just pull those across the side and adjust it. Look, get it right on the end of the track there. And that's perfect. And as you can see here, you've just got a nice 5mm holding in the top of the track, and we can run the mirrors all in just like that. And that's it, mirrors are fitted. Few things to remember which will save the day. Corners on these are very fragile. If you hit the corner on something, it's likely it's going to pop the glass. So very important. They're very strong if you hit them on the level part. So you can push them down and stuff, but just try not to hit the corners. You want to hold the edge of the mirror with your fingertips, lift them up into the top J-hook, push the bottom in with your knee, and then just slowly let it sit down and make sure it's in that hook. Otherwise, if it's not, it will jump down and go bang and it could pop. So just be very careful if you're doing it by yourself. But as you can see, I've just done it pretty straightforward. It wasn't too difficult. Just take your time, and then you can move them around from left to right nice and slowly to get them all buttered up perfect. But there we are. You can see in the video before, we've got about 5-6mm in the top tracks. They're never coming out. And that's it really. It's as easy as that. I hope this video has helped. If it has, please give it a thumbs up. And it would be absolutely fantastic if you could subscribe to the channel and turn the notifications on for loads more free DIY helpful advice from myself. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait to make more videos like this for you guys and help you all out at home. If you've got any comments, please drop them in the box below. Any questions or any tips, if you think I've done something that I could have done better, let me know. I love taking constructive advice from people that can help me out as well. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.